The house sat on a hill like a polished coin. Glass and steel. Manicured hedges. A fountain that sang at dawn. People said the house had no echoes. They were wrong. Robert Ashford moved through it like a conductor. He wore power like a second skin. His voice was low. Precise. He liked things ordered. He liked things controlled. He believed money could solve any mess. Sophia unlocked the back door before sunrise. She smelled lemon cleaner and toast. The kitchen was warm from the oven. Her hands were steady. She hummed a small tune, a loop her mother taught her. She had been with the Ashfords 3 years. She knew where Robert kept the spare light bulbs. She knew how Michael liked his toast, cut into 3 exact triangles. She knew when to laugh and when to be quiet. Michael, 10 years old, moved through the house differently. He watched with the slow focus of someone cataloging a secret. He liked patterns. He liked routines. He noticed details others missed. He loved engines and old radios. He loved blue. He loved routine so much that the world often felt safer when things stayed the same. That morning, something felt off in the air. The fountain was louder. The sky was too blue. Sophia found a small envelope in the laundry room. A printout of a fingerprint. A name in Robert's handwriting. Evelyn Marks, it said. Her heart nudged. She folded the paper and put it in her pocket like a stone. Robert called a meeting at noon. His voice was clipped. His face was a map of lines. Evelyn Marks, the housekeeper from the neighboring estate, was missing. A small scandal, he said, could cost him a deal. He needed a fall person. He needed someone to take the heat. Sophia, he said casually in the marble hall, we'll need a staff review. Paperwork, ID checks. Routine. He smiled without warmth. Can you help me gather prints? We'll make everything tidy. Sophia felt her throat tighten. Her palms grew damp. She thought of Evelyn, soft hands, a laugh that filled small rooms. She thought of the print in her pocket. She looked at Michael. He was standing silent by the window. He turned the page of the same small picture book for the 3rd time. Michael noticed the printout immediately. He frowned. He folded his lips like he was thinking in gears. He walked slowly to Sophia. He put a hand on her arm. His touch was small. It steadied her. Why is Mr. Robert angry? He asked, voice flat, curiosity like a bell. Not angry, Sophia whispered. Worried. He looked at the fingerprint. He tilted his head like a bird. He liked patterns. The ridges on the paper were a puzzle. Robert left the room humming an old tune he used before big meetings. The house settled. The air seemed to hold its breath. Silent moment. Sophia followed the habit she'd learned in 3 years. Clean the crime scene before there's a crime. She rinsed dish towels. She straightened napkins. She tucked the envelope into her apron. Every movement was small, precise, necessary. But Michael didn't sit. He grabbed his little red toolbox and disappeared into the attic. He loved his toolbox. He loved the way things fit together. He loved working with his hands more than people talking. Sophia heard the attic door creak. She heard Michael's tiny footsteps. She heard a whisper of gears and pages turning. What would a 10-year-old notice that the adults missed? What pattern would Matthew, no Michael, see where the rest of them saw only chaos? Pause. Outside, the fountain beat like a pulse. Inside, a fingerprint waited in the pocket of Sophia's apron. And somewhere up in the attic, a child turned the first page toward a truth that could change everything. End of chapter 1. Will Michael's quiet curiosity be a comfort, or a danger? By the next morning, the Silver House didn't feel safe anymore. It felt like it was watching. Robert's security team had come early. Black suits, stiff faces, silent earpieces. Their shoes echoed off the marble floors. Sophia tried to keep working like nothing was wrong, but her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Every clang of a pan made her flinch. She overheard Robert in his office, his voice cutting through the air like a blade. Find out who accessed the study last night. I don't care how, just do it. Sophia froze in the hallway, a laundry basket pressed against her hip. She had entered the study, to dust. But she hadn't touched a thing except the bookshelves. Still, there was that envelope. That fingerprint. Robert's assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Clara, stepped out of the office. You, she said, pointing at Sophia. Mr. Ashford needs to see you. Sophia's knees nearly buckled. Inside the office, sunlight cut through the blinds, striping the room with gold and shadow. On the desk lay a small black box. A fingerprint scanner. Robert looked up, cold and deliberate. Sophia, he said calmly, you've been with us for 3 years. I've trusted you. Which is why I'm asking this directly. He slid a photo across the desk, Evelyn Marks. Smiling. The missing maid. She was the last person to clean my study before something went missing, he continued. A rare coin. One of a kind. Worth over $1 million. Sophia's heart stopped. I don't understand, she whispered. I think you do. Robert stood and gestured to the scanner. This will clear everything up. Just a quick fingerprint check. Sophia looked at it, then at him. It wasn't a request. She placed her trembling finger on the glass. A faint beep. Then a pause. The screen glowed green. Robert smirked. Well, there we have it. Clara gasped. The screen showed a match. Sophia's fingerprint matched the one found on the stolen coin case. Sophia's breath caught. That's not possible. Her voice cracked like thin ice. I never even touched that box. Robert turned away, eyes cold as glass. I wanted to believe you, Sophia. But evidence doesn't lie. She took a step forward. Please, sir, you know me. But he cut her off. Security will escort you out after questioning. Her world fell silent. Through the doorway, Michael stood watching. His small hands clutched his toolbox. His eyes darted between the screen, his father's face, and Sophia's tearful one. He didn't say a word. But something inside him shifted. As Sophia was led out, she turned once, her voice shaking. Mr. Robert, I swear on my life, I didn't do this. Robert didn't respond. He just poured himself another drink. The front door slammed shut behind her. Silent moment. In the empty hallway, Michael whispered softly to himself, fingerprints can lie. He opened his red toolbox. Inside was a tiny magnifier, an old digital camera, and a notebook filled with sketches of fingerprints, his collection from school experiments. He had seen something no one else did. The ridges. The spacing. The swirl pattern on the print Robert showed the staff yesterday. Something was off. He wrote one sentence in his notebook, compare prints. 2 aren't the same. Then he whispered, almost to the air. I can prove it. Could a 10-year-old boy outsmart a billionaire's setup? That night, the Silver House was quiet, too quiet. Rain pattered against the windows. The lights in Robert's study were still on. He was on a call, pacing like a man balancing lies. Yes, I handled it, he said sharply into the phone. The maid confessed. It's over. But she hadn't confessed. Upstairs, Michael sat cross-legged on the carpet, surrounded by his notebook, a magnifier, and his tablet. His lips moved soundlessly as he repeated a pattern only he understood. Left swirl. Ridge break. Valley line. Again. Left swirl. Ridge break. Valley line. He compared the fingerprint from the case photo Robert showed, the one that matched Sophia, to a print he'd secretly taken from her teacup. Different. One ridge short. A mismatched delta. He knew enough about prints to recognize that no two were ever identical. But these two weren't even close. His breathing quickened. He whispered, Dad lied. He didn't know why, but he knew it now. Robert framed Sophia. Downstairs, Robert's voice thundered on another call. No leaks. She's gone. That's final. Michael stood. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes, bright, focused, were steady. He packed his notebook and the teacup fragment into his toolbox. Then he tiptoed down the hall toward his father's office. Lightning flashed through the window, throwing Robert's shadow across the wall like a giant. Michael stood in the doorway. "Dad," he said quietly. Robert turned, startled. "Michael, it's late. Go to bed." Michael held out the notebook. "Sophia didn't do it." Robert frowned. "Not now, son." "She didn't," Michael said louder, his voice trembling but fierce. "You made it look like she did. You changed the fingerprint." Robert's eyes widened. "Where did you hear that?" Michael took a deep breath. "I saw it." He set the teacup on the desk beside the print photo. "They don't match. I checked. You switched it." For a moment, only the rain spoke. Robert's jaw tightened. His voice dropped low. "You shouldn't have been in my study." "But you shouldn't lie," Michael whispered. Robert slammed his hand on the desk. "You don't understand the world, Michael. Sometimes people like her take what isn't theirs. Sometimes the truth has to be managed." Tears welled in the boy's eyes. "You taught me truth doesn't change." Silence. Heavy. Cold. Robert turned away, gripping the edge of his desk like it might keep him from falling. He couldn't look at his son. Michael backed away, shaking. He ran down the hall and into the storm outside. Thunder rolled. The gate loomed like a monster's mouth. He had only one thought: he had to find Sophia. Would anyone believe the truth from a boy the world saw as different? The rain hit harder now, soaking Michael to the bone as he ran down the long, winding driveway. His shoes slapped the pavement, puddles splashing against his legs. The night smelled of wet earth and metal. He clutched his red toolbox to his chest, whispering to himself like it gave him courage. "Find Sophia. Show the proof. Fix it." His voice shook, but his mind was sharp. Every pattern. Every detail. Every step. Down the hill, the town lights shimmered through the rain. He remembered the little apartment where Sophia lived, the one near the bakery that smelled like cinnamon in the mornings. When he reached her door, he knocked 3 times, then waited, shivering. A moment later, the door opened. Sophia's eyes widened in shock. "Michael? Oh, sweetheart, what are you doing here? You're drenched." He couldn't speak at first. His teeth chattered. His tiny hands held up the soaked notebook. "Dad lied," he whispered. "You didn't do it. I can prove it." Sophia froze. The words hit her like thunder. "Michael," she said softly, kneeling down. "What are you talking about?" He opened the notebook, flipping through pages filled with fingerprint sketches and notes. "This one's yours, from your teacup. This one's the one Dad said was yours. But it's different." She stared at the pages, at the boy's trembling fingers tracing ridge lines and loops. He was right. They didn't match. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. "Oh, Michael." But before she could say more, a black car pulled up outside. Headlights cut through the rain. Robert stepped out. His coat was soaked, his expression unreadable. "Michael," he called, his voice deep, commanding. "Come back inside. Now." Sophia rose to her feet, her heart pounding. "Mr. Ashford, please, he's terrified." Robert's jaw tightened. "He doesn't understand what he's doing." Michael took a step back, clutching his toolbox tighter. "You lied," he shouted. "You made them think she stole. That's wrong." Robert looked at his son, not with anger this time, but with exhaustion. His voice cracked. "You don't know what it's like to have everything at risk. The deal, the press, they'd ruin us. I needed a way out." Sophia's voice trembled but didn't break. "So you chose to ruin someone else instead?" For a long moment, no one moved. The rain was the only sound. Michael looked between them, eyes wide. Dad, you told me once that truth is like light. Even when it's small, it shows everything. The billionaire's chest rose and fell. His reflection shimmered in a puddle at his feet. Broken, distorted. Go home, Michael, he said quietly. But the boy didn't. He turned to Sophia and whispered, You have to show them. The prints. The proof. I'll help. Sophia hesitated, but then, something inside her shifted. Strength. Courage. I will. The car door slammed. The rain swallowed the sound. And for the first time, Robert Ashford realized, his son wasn't afraid of him anymore. Would the truth survive the power of a billionaire's lies? The next morning, the Silver House was surrounded by flashing blue and red lights. Police cars. Reporters. Robert Ashford stood at the front steps, his face pale. The world he built, polished, perfect, was cracking in daylight. Sophia stood beside Detective Harris, holding the small notebook and the printout Michael had made. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled slightly. This is the evidence. The print Mr. Ashford claimed was mine, doesn't match my real one. Michael compared them. He found the difference. The detective examined the photos. You're right. The ridge patterns don't align. This one's been copied. Robert's lawyer tried to interject, but the detective silenced him. Tampering with forensic evidence is a serious charge, Mr. Ashford. Robert's gaze flicked to Michael, who stood quietly by Sophia, holding her hand. The boy's eyes were soft, not angry, just sad. Michael, Robert whispered. You called the police? Michael nodded slowly. You said truth matters. So I told it. Something broke inside Robert, not his pride, but something deeper. His voice faltered. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I just... Sophia stepped forward. You didn't just hurt me. You broke your son's trust. The silence that followed was heavier than any storm. The cameras clicked. The truth was out. Later that day, as officers drove Robert away, Michael stood at the window with Sophia. He pressed his palm against the glass. Will Dad come back? He asked softly. Sophia knelt beside him. I think he will. But next time, he'll have to earn it. Michael looked down at his little red toolbox. Inside, the teacup fragment glinted faintly in the light. Truth fixed it, he whispered. Sophia smiled, tears in her eyes. Yes, it did. Outside, the sky finally cleared. The fountain below sparkled again, only this time, it sounded softer. Gentler. Like forgiveness. And though the house still stood tall on its hill, it no longer felt hollow. It felt alive again. Silent moment. Sometimes, the smallest voice speaks the loudest truth. Do you think Robert deserved forgiveness, or punishment? Thought balloon comment below. What would you have done if you were in Sophia's place?